The Silent Invasion. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the viewing window of the deep-sea research station Poseidon, watching strange lights pulse through the darkness of the Pacific Ocean's Hadal Zone. At 11 kilometers below the surface, these lights shouldn't exist. No known bioluminescent creature produced such perfectly geometric patterns of blue-white radiance. "Tell me I'm not the only one seeing this," she whispered into her comlink. The response from her research partner came immediately. Tracking multiple anomalies at bearing 047, Dr. James Rodriguez confirmed from the station's sensor array, "Whatever these things are, they're spreading. Started noticing them near the Mariana Trench last month. Now they're appearing in every major ocean basin." Sarah adjusted the external floodlights, revealing crystalline structures protruding from the seafloor. They looked almost architectural, too precise to be natural formations. The structures pulsed with that same ethereal light, spreading across the abyssal plain like a bioluminescent city. "We need to alert Surface Command," Sarah said, but before she could reach for the emergency beacon, every light in the station flickered and died. Through the viewport, the crystalline structures blazed brighter. A low-frequency hum penetrated the station's reinforced hull, making Sarah's teeth ache. The backup generators kicked in, but the communications array remained dead. "James, we're being jammed," Sarah called out, rushing to the main lab. She found him frantically working at his console. "It's not just us," he reported grimly. "Every deep-sea research station worldwide is going dark. The pattern's too precise to be coincidental." The truth hit Sarah like a physical blow. This isn't a discovery, it's first contact. And they've been here all along watching us. Over the next 72 hours, humanity learned they weren't alone. The Nexarians, as they came to be known, emerged from Earth's oceans with devastating clarity. Their crystalline vessels rose from the depths, each one a masterpiece of geometric precision that defied human engineering. When they finally deigned to communicate, their message was transmitted simultaneously to every digital device on Earth. "Your oceans contain resources we require. Your permission was not sought as you lack the development to be considered equals. Do not interfere." The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session. Military vessels were mobilized. But against an enemy that had hidden beneath our oceans for decades, perhaps centuries, what chance did surface-dwelling creatures have? Admiral Helena Vega, commander of the Pacific Fleet, watched satellite footage of crystalline structures spreading across the ocean floor like frost across a window. "They think we're primitive," she said to her assembled staff. "They think we'll bow down and let them strip our planet bare." A young lieutenant spoke up. "With respect, Admiral, their technology is centuries beyond ours. How do we fight an enemy like that?" Helena's expression hardened. "The same way humanity has always fought impossible odds, with everything we've got. They may have superior technology, but they've made one critical mistake." She pointed to the spreading crystalline structures on the display. "They've shown us exactly where they live." In research stations worldwide, scientists began analyzing every scrap of data about the Nexarians. Dr. Chen and Dr. Rodriguez, finally evacuated from Poseidon Station, led the effort to understand their crystalline biology. "They're not just using crystal technology," Sarah explained to a room full of military and scientific leaders. "They are crystal technology. Living crystal, more complex than anything we've ever encountered. That's why they need our ocean minerals. They're not mining resources, they're gathering building blocks for reproduction." James added, "And that's why they chose Earth. Our oceans contain the perfect mixture of minerals they need. They've probably been seeding the ocean floor for years, preparing for full-scale colonization." As the Nexarians' crystalline cities spread, marine ecosystems began to collapse. Entire species of deep-sea creatures disappeared. Ocean temperatures started shifting, threatening global weather patterns. Humanity watched their blue planet being transformed by an alien force that saw them as nothing more than primitive organisms, too insignificant to even warrant diplomatic contact. But the Nexarians had never encountered humans before. They didn't understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology. It was their relentless determination to survive, to adapt, to overcome. In her office overlooking the Pacific, Admiral Vega received Sarah's preliminary report. Reading it, a smile slowly spread across her face. "Get me the Security Council," she ordered. "I think we just found their weakness." The Nexarians had made a crucial mistake in dismissing humanity. They were about to learn that on Earth, even the most primitive species could be deadly when fighting for survival. Breaking the crystal. Dr. Sarah Chen hadn't slept in 36 hours. The lab at NOAA's Advanced Research Center hummed with activity as scientists from 12 nations worked to understand their crystalline invaders. Fragments of Nexarian technology covered every surface, pieces of their structures recovered at great cost by deep-sea submersibles. "Look at this," James called out, his voice tense with excitement. He adjusted the frequency on a sonic resonator, aiming it at a crystal shard. At first, nothing happened. Then, at exactly 172.3 kilohertz, the crystal began to vibrate. Hairline fractures appeared across its surface. Sarah nearly knocked over her chair, rushing to the observation microscope. "The molecular structure is destabilizing," she breathed. "James, you beautiful genius. They're not invincible." Word spread quickly through the scientific community. The Nexarians' crystalline biology, while incredibly advanced, had a fundamental weakness. Specific sonic frequencies could disrupt their molecular bonds, causing their structures to fragment and collapse. But the discovery came at a critical moment. The Nexarians had expanded their presence to every major ocean on Earth. Global temperatures were rising as their crystal cities disrupted deep-sea currents. Coastal cities reported strange phenomena. Crystalline growths appearing on piers and seawalls, spreading like alien coral. In Washington, D.C., Admiral Vega presented the findings to a joint military command. "The Nexarians evolved in the crushing pressures of deep space," she explained. "They adapted to survive extreme conditions by developing perfect crystalline structures. But like any crystal, they can shatter if you find the right resonant frequency." A Chinese general leaned forward. "How do we weaponize this?" "We already are," Vega replied. She activated a holographic display showing new submarine designs. Every nation with submarine capabilities is retrofitting their vessels with sonic weaponry. But we need more than just military hardware. We need to hit them everywhere at once. The plan that emerged was audacious. Humanity would turn the entire ocean into a weapon. Thousands of sonic buoys would be deployed, each broadcasting the precise frequency needed to disrupt Nexarian biology. But there was a catch. At that scale, the sonic assault would also affect Earth's marine life. Dr. Chen's team worked around the clock to solve this problem. "We can't save every species," she admitted to James one night, her voice heavy. "But we've identified a narrow band that mostly affects crystalline structures. Marine mammals should be able to flee to safer waters." The Nexarians, seemingly aware that humanity had discovered something, accelerated their expansion. Crystal spires began rising from the waves near major coastal cities. Ships that ventured too far from shore disappeared, their crews never heard from again. Then came the ultimatum. The Nexarians finally acknowledged humanity directly. "Your attempts to resist are noted. Cease immediately, or we will be forced to extend our dissolution protocol to the surface." Images from orbit showed what this meant. Entire sections of coastline were being transformed into crystal, the alien growth creeping in. And so began the largest naval engagement in human history. Ships from dozens of nations, once potential adversaries, fought side by side against a common enemy. Chinese destroyers defended American submarines. Russian aircraft carriers launched fighters to protect Japanese deployment zones. The Nexarians had dismissed humanity as primitive, unworthy of consideration. Now they faced the full fury of a species fighting for survival. A species that had spent its entire existence adapting, overcoming, surviving against impossible odds. The counterstrike. The Pacific Ocean boiled, not with heat, but with sound, frequencies tuned precisely to shatter crystalline molecular structures. Nexarian cities crumbled beneath the waves as humanity's sonic network expanded. But the aliens weren't retreating. They were evolving. They're adapting. Sarah shouted over the chaos in the command center. Satellite feeds showed new Nexarian structures emerging, their crystalline patterns subtly different. They're changing their molecular structure to resist our frequencies. Admiral Vega watched crystal ships rise from the depths, their forms now darker, more angular. How long until our current frequencies become useless? Hours, maybe less, James replied, his fingers flying over his keyboard. But we anticipated this. The boys are programmable. We just need to find the new resonant frequency. The battle raged across every ocean. Human navies fought desperately to protect the sonic network, while the Nexarians launched increasingly aggressive attacks. Their crystal ships now fired energy beams that could slice through battleships like paper. The water itself seemed to crystallize around their targets, trapping vessels in growing geometric prisons. But humanity had more than just sonic weapons. Decades of preparing for various doomsday scenarios had left Earth's militaries with an arsenal of unconventional weapons. Autonomous underwater drones, carrying powerful explosives, swarmed Nexarian structures. Experimental plasma torpedoes, designed to burn hot enough to melt through anything, proved devastatingly effective against crystal ships. The Nexarians' response was to escalate further. Massive crystal structures began emerging from the depths, not ships or cities, but something far more terrifying. They're building weapons platforms, Admiral Vega realized, studying the tactical displays. They're going to attack our coastal cities directly. Sarah's team worked frantically to analyze the new Nexarian structures. The aliens' crystalline biology was proving more complex than anyone had imagined. Each adaptation revealed new layers of sophistication in their design. "Look at this," Sarah called out, pointing to her screen. "Their new structures aren't just random adaptations. They're learning from us. See these patterns. They're incorporating elements of our own technology into their design." James leaned in, his eyes widening. "They're not just evolving. They're reverse engineering our weapons. But that means they're not as advanced as we thought," Sarah finished. "They're incredibly sophisticated in their own way, but they've never encountered a species that could fight back effectively. They're having to innovate just like we are." This revelation spread through the human forces like wildfire. The Nexarians weren't invincible gods of crystal and light. They were aliens fighting for survival, just like humanity. And they could make mistakes. A turning point came during the Battle of the Mariana Trench. A joint task force of American and Japanese submarines discovered a massive Nexarian structure unlike any other, a central hub of sorts, coordinating their activities across the Pacific. "That's their command center," Admiral Vega declared. "Everything we've got. Hit it now." The assault was precisely coordinated. As submarines launched their sonic weapons, surface ships bombarded the area with plasma torpedoes. Chinese hypersonic missiles streaked down from orbit, their warheads specially designed to penetrate deep water. The Nexarians fought back furiously. Crystal ships emerged in swarms, their weapons tearing through the human fleet. But for every human ship lost, 2 more took its place. The waters around the Mariana Trench became a graveyard of broken crystal and twisted metal. Then something unexpected happened. As the battle reached its peak, the Nexarian ships suddenly withdrew. Their movements became erratic, uncoordinated. The sonic assault had reached the command center. "We've done it," James shouted, watching the sensor readings. "Their command structure is collapsing." But Sarah wasn't celebrating. Something about the Nexarians' retreat bothered her. "This is too easy," she muttered, studying the data. They're too organized, too advanced to have a single point of failure like this. She was right. As humanity celebrated their apparent victory, deep beneath the waves, the Nexarians were preparing their most dramatic adaptation yet. They had learned something crucial about their opponents, something that would change the nature of the conflict entirely. Admiral Vega received the first warnings from deep-sea sensors. All commands, be advised, she broadcast. Multiple large-scale crystalline formations detected. They're merging. The Nexarians had decided to show humanity what they were truly capable of. Their scattered forces were combining into something unprecedented, a single massive entity that dwarfed anything seen before. As the enormous crystalline form rose from the Pacific, its surface reflecting the sun like a mirror of impossible geometry, humanity realized the true battle was just beginning. The Nexarians had adapted not just their structure, but their entire strategy. Unity through adversity. The massive crystalline entity that emerged from the Pacific became known as the Nexus. Nearly 2 kilometers tall, it towered above the ocean's surface like a mountain of living crystal, its faceted surface reflecting sunlight in mesmerizing patterns. But its true mass lay hidden beneath the waves, extending down into the hadal depths. It's not just a weapon, Sarah explained to the emergency UN session, broadcast from a bunker deep beneath Geneva. It's their entire civilization combined into a single organism. They've abandoned individual forms for perfect unity. The Nexus began broadcasting a signal, not in radio waves or digital code, but through modulated crystalline frequencies that resonated through the ocean itself. Dr. Chen's team worked frantically to decode it. "They're giving us a choice," Sarah announced, her face pale as the translation emerged. "Either humanity surrenders the oceans and relocates inland permanently, or they'll trigger what they call total crystalline conversion of Earth's hydrosphere." Admiral Vega, her fleet now reduced to a third of its original strength, studied the tactical projections. They could do it too. That thing is producing energy readings off any scale we've ever seen. If they convert all our oceans to their crystalline state, Earth becomes uninhabitable, James finished. For us, at least. For them, it would be paradise. But humanity had learned something crucial about their enemy. The Nexarians' greatest strength, their unity and crystalline perfection, was also their greatest vulnerability. By combining into a single entity, they had put all their eggs in one basket. The question was how to crack that basket. What followed was the greatest collaborative effort in human history. Scientists from every nation shared data freely. Military secrets were revealed as strategists pooled their knowledge. Private companies opened their research vaults, offering experimental technologies that might help. Sarah's team made a breakthrough while studying the Nexus's energy emissions. "Look at these patterns," she pointed out to James. "The crystal matrix isn't just storing energy, it's thinking. The entire structure is one massive crystalline computer. And computers can be hacked," James realized. A plan emerged, more ambitious than anything humanity had attempted before. While military forces kept the Nexus distracted with conventional attacks, a team of specialists would attempt something unprecedented, interfacing directly with the alien consciousness. Dr. Chen led the development of what they called the Bridge, a crystalline organic hybrid interface designed to communicate with the Nexus on its own terms. The technology was experimental, dangerous, and would require direct physical contact with the alien entity. "We need volunteers," Admiral Vega announced to the assembled military leaders. "This is likely a one-way mission." The response was overwhelming. Soldiers, scientists, and civilians from every nation stepped forward. After rigorous testing, a team of 12 was selected, representing a cross-section of humanity's best and brightest. Sarah insisted on going herself, over James's passionate objections. "I understand their biology better than anyone," she argued. "And we'll only get one shot at this." The mission launched during the largest storm ever recorded in the Pacific, a perpetual tempest created by the Nexus's effect on ocean temperatures. As military forces launched a massive assault to draw attention, a stealth submarine carried the bridge team to their target. "Remember," Sarah briefed her team as they prepared to dock with the crystalline mass, "we're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to show them something they've never seen before, a different kind of unity." The team attached their equipment to the Nexus's surface, the hybrid interface growing crystalline tendrils that merged with the alien structure. Sarah and her colleagues took their positions, connecting themselves to the bridge. What followed was beyond anything they had prepared for. Their consciousness expanded into a vast crystalline network, the combined minds of an entire civilization transformed into pure geometric thought. The Nexarians' surprise at their presence manifested as shockwaves of light and sound through the crystal matrix. But instead of attacking, Sarah began sharing memories, not just her own, but humanity's collective experience. Their struggles, their triumphs, their endless capacity to band together in the face of adversity. She showed them something the Nexarians had never considered: that true unity doesn't require physical merger, that diversity itself could be a strength. The alien consciousness reeled, trying to process this new paradigm. Their crystalline perfection had been achieved at the cost of individuality, of the creative chaos that drove human innovation. They had become powerful but stagnant, unified but unchanging. As the connection deepened, something unexpected began to happen. The Nexus started to pulse with new patterns, its perfect geometry becoming more organic, more varied. The Nexarians were adapting again, not to resist humanity, but to understand them. But this understanding came at a price. The strain on the bridge equipment was becoming critical. Systems began to fail, and the human team's vital signs started to fluctuate dangerously. "We need to disconnect," James shouted through their communications link. "The equipment can't take much more." Sarah knew they were at a crucial moment. The Nexarians were changing, but would it be enough? As her consciousness began to fade, she sent one final message through the bridge. Not in words or images, but in pure emotion: hope. The Nexus's response would determine the fate of both species. Evolution of understanding. Sarah Chen awoke in a military hospital 3 days after the bridge connection. The ceiling above her was covered in strange, delicate patterns of crystalline growth. But instead of the cold geometric perfection of the Nexarians, these formations seemed almost organic, flowing like frozen waves. "They're everywhere now," James told her, sitting beside her bed. "But they're different. You did it, Sarah. You changed them." The Nexus had undergone a transformation unprecedented in the Nexarians' million-year history. Their rigid crystalline structure had evolved into something new, a hybrid form that incorporated the chaos and adaptability they had witnessed in human consciousness. Admiral Vega arrived with the full briefing. "The Nexarians have withdrawn from most of Earth's oceans," she explained. "They're maintaining a presence only in the deepest trenches now, where they've established what they call communion zones, places where our species can meet and exchange knowledge." The price of the victory had been high. 3 members of the bridge team hadn't survived the connection. Vast stretches of ocean floor remained transformed by crystalline growth, though now these formations seemed to be integrating with natural ecosystems rather than destroying them. But the true revolution was in understanding. The Nexarians, through their contact with human consciousness, had discovered something they had lost in their pursuit of perfection: the power of diversity, of individual perspective, of chaos giving birth to innovation. "They want to learn from us," Sarah said, reading through the diplomatic reports. "All this time, we thought they saw us as primitive because of our technology, but they've realized that our primitive state, our individuality, our conflicts, our constant drive to adapt and change, is exactly what they need." The first formal meetings between human leaders and the evolved Nexarian consciousness took place in a specially constructed chamber deep beneath the Pacific. The aliens no longer communicated through ultimatums and demands, but through a complex exchange of ideas and experiences. We were stagnant, the Nexarian representative explained, its crystalline form shifting with subtle colors as it communicated. In seeking perfect unity, we had eliminated the very thing that drives evolution. The chaos of individual thought, the clash of different perspectives. Humanity showed us another way. The technological exchange that followed transformed both civilizations. The Nexarians shared their mastery of crystalline computing and energy manipulation, while humans taught them about art, music, and the power of individual creativity. Together, they began developing new technologies that combined the best of both species. Sarah led the first joint research team, working with evolved Nexarians to understand their new hybrid biology. They're not just adapting physically, she reported to the UN Science Council. Their entire society is restructuring itself. They're learning to maintain individual consciousness within their collective matrix, something they never thought possible before. The crystalline growths in Earth's oceans, once a threat to all marine life, were repurposed. Under joint human-Nexarian guidance, they became the foundation of a new kind of ecosystem, one that bridged the gap between organic and crystalline life. Deep-sea creatures began incorporating crystalline elements into their biology, evolving alongside their transformed environment. 5 years after the first contact, humanity launched its first crystal-powered starship, a joint project that combined Nexarian technology with human innovation. Admiral Vega, now Secretary General of the newly formed Earth-Nexarian Alliance, gave the launch speech. When the Nexarians first arrived, they thought they were superior to us in every way. They saw our division, our conflicts, our chaotic nature as weaknesses. But these very traits, our ability to disagree, to question, to fight, to create, to change, these are what made us strong. We didn't just survive their invasion, we helped them evolve beyond their own limitations. As the ship rose into orbit, its crystalline hull shimmering with colors no human eye had ever seen before, Sarah stood at the viewport of the Mariana Research Station, watching the transformed ocean floor below. The once rigid geometric patterns of Nexarian architecture now flowed like liquid mathematics, a perfect blend of order and chaos. "We thought first contact would end with either their victory or ours," she said to James. Instead, it ended with both species becoming something more than they were. James nodded, pointing to where a school of fish swam through a crystalline formation, their scales glinting with the same ethereal light as the alien structure. "Think they'll ever stop changing now?" Sarah smiled, watching the endless dance of adaptation and evolution playing out beneath them. "That's the beauty of it. They've learned what we knew all along. The only constant in life is change itself." In the depths below, human submarines and crystalline vessels moved together through the transformed waters of Earth's oceans, their crews working side by side. The Nexarians had come seeking resources for their perfect, unchanging civilization. Instead, they had found something far more valuable: the power of imperfection, of diversity, of never-ending growth and change. And humanity, in teaching this lesson, had taken its first steps into a larger universe, not as a primitive species to be conquered or ignored, but as pioneers of a new kind of evolution, where the strengths of chaos and order combined to create something greater than either could achieve alone. The stars waited above, and this time, both species would face them together.